We'll hold off on the pledge of allegiance until the second half.
Nothing's started yet anyway.
All right, I move to have the session for 2023, and that's by roll call vote, correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
Mr. English,
Yes,
Mr. Rowe.
Yes.
and Mr. Cheney is on his way. So first is to nominate a chair for 2023. I will move to nominate Chet Cheney to be chair for 2023.
Second.
Vote.
Yes.
Yes. I move to nominate Jim Roper as vice chairman for 2023.
Second.
Vote. Yes.
Yes.
I move to approve the organization session resolution numbers 003-23 through 049-23. I so move.
Second.
Vote. Yes. I move to adjourn the 2023 organizational sessions.
Second.
Vote.
Yes.
Yes.
You could be a lot, we have no idea, right?
I thought, you know what, I was saying we should just go through every one, all 49 of them.
We can start.
Okay,
Controversy, we can skip.
In order to be chairman, don't you have to be here?
no,
I'll be there.
No, it's like, so I run it. And
I'm
then
like
it's like,
Al,
now
I'm like
it
Al
officially-
Haig, I'm in charge.
Well,
Remember
this is going on his.
And absolutely, and now I'm the lowly trustee, I moved to the bottom of the.
Well, so you know, if it's his time, I got 37 things I want to add to the agenda. I got to go.
Start loading the agenda.
All right, we're gonna call to order the first regular session of 2023, first order of business, 10 minutes. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice as well. Next order of business will be the approval of the regular session minutes on December the 19th.
I'll make that motion.
Second vote.
Yes.
We'll hold off on public comment in case somebody wants to bring up something when Chet gets here, if he gets here. We'll table zoning. Well, no, we can do zoning, can't you?
Yeah, so Joe and I are starting his red line comments to go through the zoning code. So we should have a draft for everybody to look at shortly.
Sorry. All you missed was zoning. We tabled public comment period. Michelle can't make it, so anything from Brookside or Worthington Hills or Epcot or Ravello.
And your time is on hold. It gets added to your next.
We're going right now. You want me to continue? You want to do it? Go ahead. You're doing a good job. Remember me, you can take over. I don't know the protocol.
I'm just a lowly trustee, so I can't.
Whose time does it go?
You know, that's the question.
you've been voted
Is
as
it
chair.
long?
Hasn't he?
Are you all on the time
All
or?
we did was, now we actually have the organizational meeting.
Okay. Okay,
Uh,
because I don't want it to go against your record.
we tabled everything, so we did the minutes, we did the pledge. We tabled public comment and we just did zoning, which was basically a non-report.
Great.
Why don't you pick it up with public?
Great, so, borrow. Is there any public comment, regarding Brookside? Anything going on? Worthington Hills, I know that the Civic Association is meeting next week. They're going to be issuing a letter to the club requesting the status of the fireworks issue directly to the board of directors. I've seen the draft of that, so I know it's coming. So I got to get a better idea of their position. And Epcon
There's nothing.
Okay, super. Road department.
I've asked and updated the quotes from WW Williams and Generator Systems. They're in the Dropbox. Diesel from WW Williams went up just over 4,000 from last year. Quality has said they can hold their diesel price until February 1st. Then it will have to change. Both the natural gas generators went up about $500, a little over on both, and the switches from Quality, the prices went up there a little bit as well.
I'm good with the natural gas 80 kilowatt for the 58-136. And the switches for looks like 11-4.
On the switches, I think we need to get the generator ordered and get it,
Before we order the switches.
well, I think on the switches, we need to figure out if it's a remodel or if we're building. Remodel, we would definitely need 3. We might not need 3 if we're going one building and then a garage for.
Well, yeah, I mean, you're talking, I mean, if we go with one building, we're 2 years out.
Yeah.
So the question is if you want the natural gas, then you're getting the switches. So,
It's fine.
I mean,
No, but even if we were to build a new building.
yeah, you're 2 years out.
You gotta get the switches.
Yeah,
you're,
I mean, unless you can make the existing switches
Well, those are
work,
out
We
of date.
can make them work until
but are they gonna be able to work for 2 years? While
that's.
But we really should get the 3
50-50.
switches.
We probably should, it's gonna be.
and are the switches something that we can wait on? Or do we need, are those gonna be backordered too?
They're back ordered, I can't remember quite how long, I think it was.
And it's the price gonna go
24
up if we
weeks,
wait on them?
28, I don't know if the price, if this is new price for 2023.
So the generators was 30 to 36 weeks.
Yeah, I think the last was 38 weeks.
38 weeks
Natural
now.
gas.
Okay, and then the switches are around 30 weeks.
Yeah, that's what I.
Well, you must have ordered the switches with the generator.
Might as well.
I mean, that's the reference there.
So, yeah, that total would be 69,536 for generator with the switches.
So we'll deal with this at the next meeting since this is the first reading.
Well, if the price is gonna go up. Is it gonna- are they
Well,
gonna
these
hold that
prices are
program?
good till February for
Alright.
sure.
Oh, they will, okay,
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 sounds good.
okay. What else you have on?
Just an update on the Christmas Eve snow event, the cold temperatures. We tried to add brine, beet juice, a geomelt to our salt. Brought from the county, it actually, froze in our trucks at the low temperatures with the mixture, so kind of made it a pain. And then, that's why the roads weren't clear right away. And then we have several water lines freeze. 1 in this building, 3 in the building 2. During
And a
that.
shower too, right?
Yeah, a shower nozzle. The plastic housing broke on the shower, so when we turned on the water, it was shooting out the head of the shower. I've never seen that. But
It was
you can
cold.
feel the
It was
vent
cold.
under, or the
Yeah.
air coming through
Yeah.
that shower wall. It was cold.
I appreciate you, I'm sure we all do, appreciate you and Mike coming in on a Saturday. After plowing all night on Friday, so,
I
it was,
I
Christmas
was
Eve, yeah.
grateful that it was just in that little closet and not like the last time we came in on Christmas Eve to a water leak.
Okay.
That's when the building 2 flooded. We-
Mm.
So getting back to the stuff we sprayed on the salt,
Yes,
we're not using that again.
not at that cold of temperatures.
Okay.
It would have worked a lot better if we had tanks and spraying it on the salt as we were putting salt down. Like
Oh,
television
so-
spreaders.
That's the
Same time
Columbus
you're
salt
putting salt.
cells, right? They spray like the night before.
Well, that brine, yeah, they'll put down the brine.
And
in
you
the
see
river.
like the 4
Mhm.
lines or
Yeah.
whatever.
That's a brine, but they also have tanks on their trucks. A lot of them are built into the beds now. Like you'll see the beds are kind of curved and they'll have tanks up the side.
And they spray while they drop the salt.
Yeah, it sprays on your salt at the spinner.
But this was this was a
one
one-off.
time.
It was a
Yeah.
one-off.
Yeah, I can't remember the last time it was like -6, -7, right?
Yeah, I've never had the salt freeze in the trucks and it froze. I was afraid it was crusting because of the material, but we went out after we dumped our trucks. We had to dump the trucks and it took the backhoe to get the stuff out of the trucks. That stuff today just falls right apart. It's, you go out there and you put it in your hand and it just cracks.
What was a?
Once in a generation.
Yeah, let's hope.
Yeah.
That's all I have though.
Okay. Fire EMS, did we do that?
Nothing at this time.
Okay. Police department, chief.
Under old business, just a update on our body worn cameras. We are still moving forward to have a deployment date of March 8th. So there is several steps, B and C, or not B and C, I'm sorry, PAR. Mike said he got with you about, they're gonna be here, they're coming out the 18th and 19th to outfit our cruisers with the equipment to sync with cameras and recharge and all that stuff. And then I actually have a meeting with Think CSC tomorrow about our access points and servers and so forth for all that. So, but our target date still is March 8th. for cameras.
I told the lieutenant too, I have an extra fob. Will be, so the guys can get back and forth to use restroom.
Oh, perfect, thank
To the fridge, whatever.
Okay. Under new business, asking for a motion to declare the listed items that are, I believe, Mary put in your Dropbox from police and admin departments obsolete, no longer needed for public use.
That didn't sound
You hear that?
good. Yeah.
What was that?
Somebody just got rear-ended.
That's what I was thinking too. Unfit for the use acquired and or having no value to the township and authorizing disposal by auction or dumpster.
I'll make that motion.
Says support. Second. Go,
Yeah,
Yes,
those bicycles are no good.
The bicycles, those two, we're going to auction. They are 20, I think 29 and 30 years old at this point. So just,
We have other ones though, right?
yeah, we have the new e-bikes at this point. So, yeah, those ones, yeah, you picked up
how are these new bikes running?
very well. And then, one of the things, I forgot to add to this, in 2021, I think I had asked for approval on, ride gear. We approved, or with your approval, it was $7,500.
Mhm.
We are not going to purchase ride gear. There's several reasons, and we can discuss that another time, but we're not gonna purchase ride gear. I would like to reallocate the funds of the $7,500. I have a proposal. I don't have it with me and I apologize, or the information right in front of me, but I would like to propose it to move it to a drone unit. We have a drone that was donated to us by Carl Roberts. I have for our annual report, his stats and so forth, but he had, I want to say 13 or 14 flights last year. Several of those were call-in, some were training flights, but they were used here in the township for different events, 4th of July, Beggars Night, some other things. The current one we're looking at, Carl got some price, I want to say it's around $7,000. It is a new version. It would give us a new one. We'll still have the one he donated as a spare. But it also has a thermal camera, has 3D mapping, which means we can do crime scenes, we could do traffic crash and several other things as well. Carl was being with Homeland Security. A lot of his time last year was done through Homeland Security. If we would have had to pay his salary, he saved us probably about $5,000 last year. And I feel the drone will be something more useful than ride gear at this point. So asking to reallocate the funds.
When was the last ride? Very comfortable.
Well,
so do we have we don't have you don't have a cost on it yet, right?
I have a quote on it, but I don't have an exact quote yet.
Right.
It's roughly 7,000.
Well, I mean, I don't think it's I mean, from my standpoint, it's not reallocating funds. It's just if it's in your budget and you have it, I mean, you can use it at your discretion
Okay.
to do that kind of stuff. It's just, whatever it is.
Okay.
Can that drone be used to inventory other things? I mean. I'm thinking for the road department, is there?
Yeah,
can
with
drone be
the,
used to-
with the 3D mapping, it can
Yeah.
do things like it, one of the things we use it was the fire with the house next door to EPCON. It can do
yeah.
things like that. It can map roadways, the construction zone defined once a bird's eye view. Our goal is Carl's our only pilot. But our goal is to have a couple other people and to certify as a pilot. Carl can train people, but the actual cost, I think, is $200 per license. So, and look at if we get a couple people over time certified, then anybody can, if they need something. And the reason we want to do, again, the 3D mapping is for traffic crash and crime scene if we need it. So,
you'll have something official for us?
yeah, next meeting I can have it all put together for you.
Okay.
And then lastly, just an update with Sean Griffin going full-time and Doc Wade retiring. I'm looking to replace those two spots with part-time. So I have a couple candidates identified that we're gonna work through the process. So that's all I have.
Madam Administrator?
There's no updates on the ODOT 161 quarter study. But so going into new business, as you know, we're required by the RFP to complete inventory. The inventory has, at least since I've been here, it's kind of exploded with computer equipment and so much other things. The spreadsheets that we were using originally in Word documents, just cutting it. We have 3 different quotes. We've sat down and talked to each company. The one that we are recommending is Novo Solutions, and in large part because of the cost difference. Cardiograph for everything that would include all the road sewer, storm sewer mapping and so on and so forth. Jurisdictional mapping, and then all of our inventory on site, and would be the cardiograph estimate was almost helps if I put my glasses on, $59,000. We did check with another local company, but at this stage in the game, their initial estimate was $25,000 just to get us going, and that would have been without the police department. She didn't feel comfortable in doing the whole package, but either way, $25,000 is quite a bit out of our price range. I think we've all agreed. The Nova Solution product is something that's pretty much ready made as standard, and then they just make the adjustments to fit our needs. We've met with Nova Solutions and Franklin County Sanitary mapping folks, as well as the Franklin County Engineers mapping, and or some Franklin County GIS mapping. And we think that we can, well, they've already said that they can take a lot of the information that the county has and integrate it into this product for us to be able to use. I think unless, I don't believe you all had any concerns at all moving forward with this product. Correct, so this, I know Steve had talked to a police department down in Florida that's been using it for quite some time, and they've been very happy with it and actually offered to provide some guidance if we needed it. So my request, one other thing I did want to make mention of is that this cost is going to be distributed between all departments. And we're going to have to kind of look to see how those percentages are going to shake out as we're getting more involved with it, but it will be shared cost throughout the township offices.
So the annual fee will be the annual, and then you have the onboarding first year. And then
Right,
you have the annual, which is $59.50.
the annual is $69.45. It's on the second page.
I can see 69.
So I'm seeing.
So is it the 10? The 10 is the,
You have 10,393.
Oh, I see, annual.
Cost,
All right, 6945. which is-
6945
got
So
it.
that would be the ongoing.
would be the
Annual.
ongoing, and again, that would be split between all departments as well.
So you're basically paying your first year, the first year annual plus the onboard, the one-time onboard 3450, which brings.
Oh, I see what you mean, yeah, I'm sorry,
And then
yeah,
after that, it's 69. So what's the county use?
it's something that we can't get our hands on.
ViewWorks.
What is it?
ViewWorks, I believe, is their asset
I think you're
management
right.
software. They are actually just switching to it. It's kind of in the startup phase at the county right now.
But we can't tag on to that.
We cannot tag on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
And it would be, from what I've been told,
And why
the county
can't-
GIS guy, it would be up there, ViewWorks is gonna come in compared to Cartograph. On,
Oh.
on the cost.
Just was not cost effective for the township.
so the county's contract with ViewWorks. There's no other entities tagging along.
No.
Okay,
So we checked into that pretty much right off the bat
Okay.
to see if we'd be able to kind of ride on their coattails and.
Worthington has,
cardio.
Cartograph.
okay,
And,
Can we piggyback on theirs?
No,
they've got their in-house GIS that enters all their information and
and we're working with the county on that piece to it. With shape
but so the
files.
county would help us with.
They'll help us with
downloading.
the, yeah, with the, so instead of having to go out and purchase our own GIS mapping, which we did get pricing on that, and that gets kind of ritzy.
it
Um,
is-
we can work with the county to get the information to get put into the system.
and Ben sent an email this afternoon and
And so,
it looks good for a URL that'll bring us right to the storm sewer maps on this platform.
Any other questions? Okay. So we'll be bringing this up on the 18th.
So,
For second reading.
yeah, I mean, yeah, so if there's any questions in between times, if you could get those to me by January 12th, so I can get whatever information you need, and so we can hopefully get this approved at the next meeting.
Will we have I assume we'll have an assigned project manager in this scenario?
Yeah, we'll be working with someone in specifically, though, matter of fact, we were on the video call, and I can't think of his name. We got him on the-
So who's gonna own it from our standpoint?
From coordination wise?
No, I'm just saying who's gonna own it? Like who, if we have to log something into it, who owns it? And I will tell you, so. The work that we do, that always becomes the issue. It's like sort of the hot potato. Cause somebody's gotta be the go-to person that anytime you're gonna enter it in, they're the person that enters it in.
Oh, I see what you mean, yeah.
So is that gonna be Lou?
That will be
Yeah.
Luke.
Okay.
That will, we'll each work with them
Okay.
on that, and that's one of the other things too with the mapping is. For example, with Ian's piece to it, if he notices something that needs to be revised, updated. He can send it to the county, and then the county will verify and incorporate that with their mapping.
Luke is used to that. He did it with the zoning.
Luke
piece, so-
is, yeah, we have no.
That's cool.
Yeah, that's fine. I just,
Yeah.
it always
No, I
becomes,
understand,
yeah,
yeah.
if you got somebody who owns it, that's cool.
like the storm sewer work, like when the guys are out there, this gives us the capability to take pictures and track everything we're doing out on the job. Before, after, and then it makes a record of it and
And becomes part of our inventory.
So it's everything. It's signs, and
Signs,
infrastructure.
yes.
Okay,
And that will help us to start on the budgeting side of it, to try and, determine end of life and this, that, and the other, so we
Right.
can. When we start working on the annual budget, we know what needs to be purchased and how far out and start saving for it, that sort of thing.
next item.
Okey dokey. In your packet, we have our annual retainer agreement with Brochus Johnson and Grid. The rates have not changed for this year, so I'm just asking for approval. As our outside legal counsel with a cap of $75,000. Which has become standard right now. I will tell you, last year it was about 35,000 less than what was actually paid, but we still have some development type work, so it'd be nice to have that cushion, if that's okay.
Second,
Vote,
yes,
yes.
Thank you. And I did want to mention, Pete and Jen announced that Julie Donahan has now become a member and partner for the firm effective January 1st, so congrats to her. The next thing on my agenda is, we've brought up here and there over the past several weeks, the need to replace our security cameras on site. There were 2 quotes that we were able to get for that. The one we're recommending is actually 2 companies. Comcor is the one providing the equipment. Buckeye Datacom would be the one doing the installation and running any additional wire we might need. And this goes for all buildings, outside visuals. I know Chief had mentioned they had a situation out there and wanted to get some coverage out there when there's people just transferring children.
Yeah, we want to designate a, I guess, safe exchange place, if that makes sense. We've been designated by the county as a safe exchange, but we don't have a designated spot. One of the things that we're going to look at is there's some grants that will cover the safe exchange. We would like to get an emergency call box at some point, but the recommendation was same thing. If we're going to remodel, rebuild, Buckeye Datacom said, you may want to wait because there's a lot that goes into that with cabling and trenching and other things. So I said, but they said there are wall mountable options. If we get to that point, we can look at, but our initial thought is to do the cameras on the side of building 2. There's an area where the cameras will cover very nicely. And Rob from Buckeye Datacom suggested using those 2 spaces as our safe exchange. And so we'll work on that, because right now we can do just paint some lines and get a sign that says this is an area designated, call 911 in an emergency. So,
But our current cameras are anywhere between 10 and 15 years old, and many of those were refurbished when they were purchased. So it's
so where are the 6 interior cameras going? I'm assuming here.
there'll be one inside our building.
yeah, one here and there's a couple in our back in the police building.
Okay.
And it's replaced some of the ones outside. There's a couple locations were fine. They just want to replace cameras in the locations where they are, because he said there's cameras now where they can move.
So
people.
but those are covered under the exterior camera. I'm just talking
Yes.
the interior.
Interior, yeah, there's,
So there's 6 locations.
yeah, there's gonna be one here to kind of cover this, because the problem is that camera back here,
Yeah,
somebody comes into the lobby,
yeah,
you can't see anything, other than you
Right.
can see somebody,
right.
but that's it. And that's what I
Okay.
said, and, or there'll be another camera in our lobby, because same thing, if somebody walks in our lobby to talk to Lori, you can't see anything. All
Right.
you know is there's somebody there.
Right.
We have blinds.
Yeah,
Right.
I just want
I
to fix
think
the blind
that's
spots, and I
designated.
want to fix the blind spots in our office, in a lot too, in the parking lots.
Yeah.
So,
And again, part of it came down to cost, although I gotta be honest, this all secured in Comcor aren't exactly apples to apples, because all secured was suggesting 19 cameras.
Yeah.
And Comcor suggested fewer, well, I think they're total of 15 cameras.
yeah,
Right, so, and then there will be on a monthly basis, $127.50 recurring card charge, and that for the camera licensing and any support we might need. So, again, if you have any questions, I'll have this on the agenda for the second reading on the 18th. If you have any questions, please make sure you get the 12th, so I can get those answers for you.
Your second reading date is 1/28 on your, would that be the 18th?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry, I was looking at the back page. I had it right on the back page. Yeah. You're right.
This is not a luxury item. This is a requirement. I mean, if we've been designated by the county.
Yeah.
So that puts us in a liable situation.
I mean, the county doesn't tell us that we're designated, the people come here because they have a court order that says go to Perry Township 7125 Sawmill. Because we're a police department, so they come here for the county. But the other thing with all these cameras, they understand that we are in a process of trying to decide what's gonna happen with this property. And like they said, all these cameras can be moved. It's just a matter of, we can run cables wherever you want,
Right.
so.
I do like the idea of a specific spot because we've had situations out here
Yes,
that have gotten a little out of hand.
yeah,
And Mary and I are not exactly equipped to take care of those kinds of
Yeah,
things,
we've-
so.
and that's something that I would talk to Ian with. I mean, in the spring, when the weather breaks, do a little painting of the spots, maybe take 2-3 spots on the side, combine them into 2. And then there'd be a camera there, we get a couple signs that says signage this way, that's dedicated, you know. And then again, I look at kind of what Rob from Buckeye Datacom said as far as the call box. You can mount an emergency call box on the side of the building. Let's see how much the need is right now. He suggests a call box once the property is done and every decisions are made. But he said for the time being, I wouldn't spend the money unless it's an absolute, he goes, you know, if you got people here coming in every day calling for help, then yeah, let's do the box. But he said, if not, let's wait till you figure out what you're gonna do with your property. So,
Okay.
We've always had issues on our parking lot too. like
Yeah.
With the blind spots, like when our gas pump, the diesel pump got knocked over, there was no camera footage of who did it. We've had our building hit by another truck.
well, and some of the other problem why is the current server on this camera system is maxed out. So you should have 96 hours at a minimum of being able to go back and look at footage. And I think we have less than 6 hours. So there's no loop. I mean, the loop is literally every few hours, it's full. So when both,
So I guess that's another question. So who stores the data on the cameras?
these are all web-based and
So that's part of our.
I believe so, yes. And I gotta double check that, but yeah, I'm
Okay.
pretty sure.
all right.
And but there's also, we also have a server with that. That includes a server. So at least it did, and I need to.
I believe that's the back, as a backup. I
Yeah.
think he's right, Andy. I think it's a web-based, but there is a small server backup
Yeah,
As part of this package.
as part of this
Yeah.
package. Both companies recommend it
Right.
Yeah.
on site.
I'm just saying, if we can go cloud, I just go cloud, and then you don't have to worry about
right.
any hardware on our site.
The cloud, if I remember, and again, I pause because this was a long process from the time we started, just getting everything put together. I think the cloud was a lot more expensive than buying a server, if I remember what they were telling us, because the amount of cameras, the storage and so forth.
Right.
This way, it's just because I remember Buckeye Datacom, they want to put the server in our equipment room where the current camera server is, but they want to change a few things out because the whole access to that camera system is up on the wall and they don't agree with that, which I would have to agree with as well.
Right.
So they want to fix some of those issues.
We'll get you the answer on that.
Yeah,
So Chet, the next thing on mine was the quarterly financial meetings.
Oh, yeah, so. I know Andy is really more attuned to this than myself, but I think it is incumbent upon all the trustees. To be attuned to what's going on with the budget and how we're progressing as far as income coming in and expenditures and rollover and, you know, what are we looking at, where are the trends at, and how do we make decisions based upon that? And so I had asked Beth, I said, if we were to have a quarterly financial meeting, and I'm not talking that whole day, I'm just talking quick hour, UAN figures, you know, if there's trends or things like that that you need to point out. I want the board to be able to meet. This would be probably on a Friday, because Fridays seem to work, Friday mornings. And it would be the month after the quarter ends, so the April, July and October, and then January roll over. So, but for the first quarter of this year, we would meet in April. And you would be able to hopefully at that point tell us about what money's coming in the door, what's going out the door. What we should be expecting over the next few months, and if there's trends and, you know, if we're running into issues down the road. So that's my proposal. I think it's an educational thing for the board. It'll drive some conversation, I'm sure, about other things and getting more information as we go along with these meetings. But again, it's just an hour out of our busy schedule to kind of get attuned to the budget. And I think that between Mary and Beth and the department heads, they should be able to gather that information and kind of educate us a little bit as we go along.
Yeah, just on that, I mean, I think it's a really good idea. I know that Bob Myers started it, and then Beth, you kind of continued it, but you know, like I'm used to seeing the stuff that we have to send to the state is worthless in terms of, you know, numbers and everything. I'm used to seeing it in true P&L statement, you know, like you got revenues, where your revenue sources, where your expenditures, and you kind of go through it and you say, okay, where are my big ticket items that, you know, why is that double what it was last year? Or why did it increase? I'd even like to get to the point where we've already identified the expenditures for that, you know, upcoming quarter. So like all of a sudden it's like, hey, I gotta buy a mower. You know, we know that that's gonna hit second quarter. You already know how much it's gonna cost, and it's like approval. I mean, I would personally, I'd like to even go into the year knowing here are the big ticket items. You guys know how it's gonna hit your budget. I mean, the one thing I always say is like, you're the manager of your budget.
Right.
You know, you guys know your budget's inside and out, or should know, and it's like, hey, if I say, hey, is it gonna fit your budget, or you get with your budget, then cool, you know, I don't have a problem with it, you know. But having that quarterly meeting, because you do have expenditures that are, you know, you're unaware of and everything like that. So I think it's a great thing, because especially when we're talking about levies. Because we're probably looking, I think when we approved the police levy, and what was that, 16?
Probably. Right.
Yeah, I think it was 16.
Yeah.
You typically look at 5 years and you start looking at what your carryover is, and is that carryover gonna, you know, is that carryover gonna have, and do we need to go levy? The last time in 16, we had to go into the general fund to you know, carry, just because that was a decision of the board. It made sense at the time in order to, you know, to take that. So that's really what it comes down to, is making sure that we're on top of our levies, or being able to extend them. I think our last police levy was typically 5 years, but we were able to, you know, get it out to 8, 9, I think 10 years. So that's really what we want, and that's where budgets are really hugely helpful in terms of, you know, understanding what we're approving and what we're going after.
And maybe what we do is expand the April one, because obviously the road levy is this year.
Right.
Is that we also include talking a little bit about the levies and where we are specifically with them in the conversation. And I like Andy's part about going into the year knowing some major expenditures. And most companies, October is a big budget year for them. So I can't get a hold of anybody the month of October for some reason, because they're always at a budget meeting. So I think if maybe we expand that meeting in October to talk about, okay, in 2024, what do you see the major expenditures that you're going to be incurring? And how much have you looked into the cost of it, and so forth and so on. So, and bring forth, you know, whatever information that you have regarding that. And like Andy said, you know, if we can all come to agreement in this conversation, then it's just like a pre-approval for the coming year, and you don't have to come back to this. So.
Yeah, I mean, like we do a lot of work with the healthcare, and what healthcare does is they'll start putting in July, all the departments start putting their wish lists together of like, hey, I need this, I need this, I need this. It goes in front of the executive team, and they say, hey, we're gonna fund this, we're not gonna fund this, and everything like that. And then pretty much what comes out of that is your approved, you know, October, like Chet said, October, what you're funded for the next year. You already done it. And what I like this year is that we did each department did their sort of, you know, like, hey, this is where we're going to go. And so it's basically doing the same thing, but we back it up in July. and start going through it, and you're gonna say, hey, these are on my wish list, these are things like the security for cameras. You say, hey, I really wanna get these, we talk about it, we say, yeah, but we need to do that, it gets funded, so 2024. That you're already funded for that expenditure. And there's no, so when it comes up and you're ready to do it, it's done, same thing with roads, everything. So,
I did want to add too, is that I was asked to get some news numbers for the Ravello and Epcon. And they weren't available through the online site yet at the county at the beginning of December, but I checked on Friday and it's been populated. So within the next couple weeks, I should be able to give you guys a good view of how much money we're gonna get from those two developments during 2023.
right,
And my holdup now is because I'm trying to create the formulas to break it down by fire, police, so you can see all that. And one of my formulas is off somewhere, so I've asked Carrie over the auditor's office to help me out, and then I can populate that
Right.
spreadsheet. So, but for the most part, phase one, it looks like almost all that revenue is coming in.
in the
For
rear, because that's
2023.
that's the rear, so.
Right, it's
the
in rear,
rears
so the
would
people
be-
pay it in 2022.
Right,
The township will get it in 2023.
okay,
Yeah, so I should be able to have some good numbers for you on that here before long too.
okay,
I just want to make sure it's right.
yeah,
I don't want to just ballpark it.
Yeah.
I don't have to, so let's see, this check, you weren't quite in here yet. So Joe did a red line on the zoning resolution. Now Andy said that he and Joe are kind of going through it together.
Okay.
Because on my request here was just to start having Jen look at those changes and start kind of tweaking from there,
Are
so.
they ready for that?
yeah, so Joe and I started going through it, a lot of it is just taking out, what Joe's done is literally gone through. And read it and said like, so what we were finding is. It refers to a section, but the section's not there. So that was the first thing to go through, but moving forward, what's the good thing is, and we'll have a lot of zoning classifications gone, like we have R12. We're never gonna use it, we're never gonna have it, so because the mode now is that every new development that we do is gonna be PUD, which is unique to that, so we think it's the best way to do it, but it gets rid of a lot of the stuff, and then you get into accessory uses. Which that'll take a little bit of time because of some of the things that we're seeing, trends that we're seeing. As people are developing, redeveloping their houses and things like that, we just want to be flexible, but at the same time maintain, that people aren't doing crazy stuff. Yeah.
So I guess my question is, so when do you think we
Yes, you
can get
do.
that? Because I was gonna ask for permission.
Joe was he was in and out today, so I'll Beth, let me talk to him tomorrow or Friday, and I'll get back to you as to when we think we'll have that ready to go.
Cool, great. Yeah, we're anxious to, people on the zoning side are anxious to get there, so. Which, just side note, just so you know, our new zoning officer will be getting into here in another 2 or 3 weeks. He ended up finding out right afterwards he had to have a partial replaced. So, but he's doing well, and so we're gonna do our team effort here for the next couple of months, which there's just not a lot of activity, so I'm not really worried about it right now. So. And I just want to make mention that there's a BWC safety conference. Ian and I signed up for some classes for that. The township gets money off the premium by participating in a lot of these things, and not to mention they're just good educational classes, and each department has the option of going ahead and going if they'd like. OTA conference, they're closing down their registration here for the classes are at the end of this month. So if anybody wants to get signed up, that needs to happen pretty soon.
So who is going to OTA as far as you know right now?
I'm going, the road guys are going, Luke is looking at some things, he's probably gonna go down the day I do, have you? I don't get it done. No, that's fine, so yeah,
Okay.
that's us. Yep. Yeah, they're actually in person and looking forward to actually seeing some of the people I've seen them. And that, I think, is all I have.
Did you go over the board of trustees meeting at Worthington Fire?
No, but I haven't gotten confirmation back from Chief Lita yet,
Okay,
so.
so our goal is, because we had conversations with Chief St. Vito, and this is really Mr. Roper's area, but I mean, we wanna, he had offered to host us for the trustee meeting over there, and we big an outreach. And it's more about, obviously, we have our business meeting and it'd be open to the public, but he would also do a presentation on, when I talked to him about funding, and this kind of came up because Sharon Township got a letter about their expenses with fire in an extreme case. So I just think it's important, and I know Mr. Roper's been over there, and I've been over there. It's good to have them kind of walk us through their operations and talk about their challenges and opportunities as they see them. It's an important part of the service that is provided to our residents, and so, and they're most willing to host us. And I think maybe even if the chief is willing to, was one of the questions I had, would he be willing to, we were to advertise and people wanted to kind of come to the meeting, could they also be part of that too, or that kind of thing. So I mean, there's some questions, but hopefully we're hoping to make it happen on the 18th. So. Anything else? So I had three more things. I'm never gonna make Mr. Roper or Mr. English's record. So the drainage project that has been on our list. And I know we have this fee that we get from licenses. It's $5 fee. And I believe it's important that we set aside money.
$15.
Yeah, but we just got an additional five.
Right.
for 2022.
So I think we have to set a, if we're not using that money, I mean, if it's not urgently needed somewhere else, you'll have to tell us if it is. We need to start setting money aside in a designated line item for drainage infrastructure. That infrastructure cost is significant. And whether this board deals with that while we're in office or it's the next board, I think we ought to be responsible enough to start putting some money aside in a fund. And I know that you had indicated that we can do that.
Right, I mean, we do use part of those funds for road improvements every year,
Mhm.
but this is money that we're just gonna be getting starting this year. So I think it would be a good time to set that, if the
Okay.
board's okay with
Is that something that requires board action?
I think
Yeah.
that was even, sorry,
Huh?
I think that was even discussed when we were talking about implementing that.
Right. How are we gonna pay for this? Yeah.
Set that aside for drainage.
Hey, are we, Ian, on that point, are we clear at like what's responsible for what is, the county, like, is there a pipe size? Is there a pipe size that, I mean, did we ever get clarification on that? Like, they have this and above, we have this and below, or is that even a thing?
There was never good clarification on that. And at one point, those culverts or bridges over 10 foot. Well, culverts over 10 foot. were covered by the county.
Right.
Uh,
Can we, because if we do this whole asset thing, we start saying, all right, this is, I'm assuming, like, can we start identifying into this whole fund that we're gonna do, like, what's black, what's white, and what would be gray areas, so we know.
I will see, from what I've been told. In our conversations about the Candlewood drainage, it's gonna fall on us. I always thought it was over 36 inch.
Right.
But they've kind of put that back on us. On
The county has.
the county, yeah, that would be.
And
our
what
responsibility.
triggered that coming back on us? I mean, do we know what the trigger point is? That's what I guess I'm asking is what's the trigger?
I'll look into it.
Gotta be a basis for it.
Yeah,
Just so we know, I mean,
Yeah,
just
you know,
so,
it could be- we've got a gazillion emails and documents, it might just need to go back a little bit further to look at that too.
I will look, yeah, because when I first started, I was under the impression that anything within like the 36 kind of fell on the county. And anything under fell on us. Somewhere that has changed to where all the storm sewer falls onto the township's responsibility. I will see if I can find when that happened. I could have been mistaken from the beginning. It's,
You know,
Yeah.
I don't think so, because I know with the McVeigh culvert, when Brian was still here. He was surprised that that wasn't county responsibility.
I was surprised too. That was explained to me, that is not a culvert. It is a bridge. Because it's 3 sides, there's no floor.
Huh.
So it's not considered a culvert. And then the bridge has to be over 10 foot, and that came in at like 9 foot 6 inches.
Okay.
Explains the county truck out there.
Right.
You did your tape measure.
Yeah.
Reciprocal easement agreement. You're talking which? What are we doing with that?
Oh, that I had asked Joe, they are waiting for Columbus to approve the, meeting.
yeah,
Okay.
Yep.
They're waiting for that approval before, so that information's still in the now.
they're close.
But now I did send out a quick, I'd asked the project manager for Mount Carmel for a quick update. Did y'all get that?
I saw it come in.
And,
You wanna
yeah,
give us
it
a
was just
recap?
very, very brief. They've got the silt fencing,
Fence.
is that right up? They've got some staging done back there, got a construction roadway they're working on. They said within the next month, there'll be some major excavation going on, and then they'll start getting the construction fence up once they do a little bit more site work. So, the project managers, I think it's been really good. They come on site to kind of check in with us and everything, make sure we know, have faces with the names and phone numbers in case something comes up.
And did you get everybody on the letter to, add?
Yes, it's here for your signatures.
Got
And,
It's going out 30 days before we got.
they should have it in their hands within 45 days.
Okay.
And I did go back, I looked at the amended agreement and also the resolution extending it. And the way it's worded is 12-month extension of the detachment filing period. So they have to file prior to that date.
So they could do it on that date if they wanted to. And if
I would not recommend.
No, but I mean, as long as they have filed, it meets the deadline,
But
right?
it has to be into the county.
Okay,
Not filed with us, it's filed with the county.
Right. Now and the other detachments, I've done the majority of the paperwork and gotten all the documentation together for the owner. But yeah, I would, like I said, I would not take it down to the very last day. Oh, I did have one more question though, because there's 3 other homes that fit that bill that have,
This one is-
right, so
Yeah.
should I go ahead and send that letter out to those 3 other homeowners as well?
we were supposed to meet with them. It was someone else to meet with them. If we meet with them individually, instead of trying as a group.
Yeah,
but
because we
can't do
haven't
it as a
had any
group.
luck getting them all together. So.
No, I don't think there's anything we can do
Yeah, I don't either. I just,
to appease them,
it was just.
not to appease them, but.
That's fine.
yeah.
Okay.
And then the road levy, did we talk about that?
Yeah, I think I mentioned no, we haven't,
Oh,
but I
okay.
mentioned last time that there's a lot of, changes in how these ballot information, language and stuff, and there's been a lot of opposition to it because folks tend to think that it's gonna be extremely confusing, for voters. So I'm going to, one of the classes at the OTA is about trying to get some updates on all of this. I do have a memo that I was able to get from the Franklin County auditors that I'll share with all of you folks. But we do need to get a much better understanding of how this is gonna work. I mean, the language itself is gonna be done by the attorneys, but it's gonna be on us to really get the information out and educate. It's the educational piece that's we're gonna have to really, really work on people understanding what all this means.
Yeah, the ballot language is, I think the members of the General Assembly went kind of bonkers. I mean, I'm all for transparency, but I think they did this transparency thing to the point that it's gotten confusing. So there's like, you explain it 4 different ways and that all the figures are 4 different figures. And so as a person that goes in, and again, probably 95% of the voters don't do a lot of research. They just go in and they may read the ballot language before them. And so if you got 4 different figures, trying to understand what those 4 different figures mean is just confusing. And I know we could, so I know you're doing the class and I'd ask you to reach out to Rebecca Prince-Horn from Bricker and Eckler, who's kind of been a key point person, kind of do some education about House Bill 140 and what the impact of it is. And because she's been working with Department of Taxation and the Auditors Association, everybody to try to figure all this out. I'd like to try to get her to virtually to one of our meetings to kind of give it a overview.
Preferably, I'd like to, the first one in February is what I'm kind of shooting
Okay.
for. I think that's gonna be important for. We just got a very, very brief glimpse of it at the County Township
Right.
Association meeting from her. But it's, there's gonna have to be some work put into it. For sure, and we have a renewal coming up with the road department this year. 1 of 2, so, one this year and then one next year.
That piece is easy. I mean, it's a renewal, it's not an increase in taxes and the services, blah, 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 but it's the ballot language that worries us as to how it is portrayed. So,
Yeah, they even mentioned that was the confusing part, even on ballot.
right. That's what I'm. Thinking about, so.
Yeah, that seems to be the main word for most folks.
Yeah, I set no record, just I'm sorry, so. Makes you two look good. So, the fiscal officer, all we have is approval of payroll and disbursements. Have a motion for that.
I'll make it.
Second, oh,
Yeah.
yes. Anything else to go to the order? Not, from adjourn.
I'll make that motion.